Welcome to Builder Nation Procurement Edition. We are exploring how hardware startups tackle the essentials of procurement, from sourcing components to managing supply chains and controlling costs. Keep watching to hear real-world strategies from industry leaders on overcoming procurement challenges to bring impactful products to market faster. Today, we are joined by Jake Wernet, Production Operations Manager at Sabanto. Welcome, Jake. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, to start with this, I want to know something more about you, about the work that you do now at Sabanto.
Sure. So I'm the operations manager for production here at Sabanto. And what I do is manage all of our contract manufacturers and our supply chain, what we need to purchase, what we need to put together to get autonomous kits to our customers.
Okay, so now that we are going to talk about the procurement and supply chain, can you give us a high-level view of the current procurement challenge in the hardware industry?
Yeah, so as a small startup, the challenges are massive. The number one thing that we constantly face is finding great contract manufacturers that want to produce our product for us. Usually with our low volumes, we struggle with finding people who want to give us that attention and are willing to produce a quality product for us with most of the constraints we have, the low volume, the constant demand for high quality, things like that. So really finding key suppliers, contract manufacturers for us is our number one challenge.
Yeah, I think that is something that I hear before with the other interviewees, that sometimes when you are a startup, it's difficult to reach good investors, good suppliers, good vendors, everything, because sometimes they don't believe if you are starting, they don't believe that you are going to be stable or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a little bit, you have to tell your startup story to them and give them high hopes for future with them. So it's a little bit like selling yourself to them almost.
Yeah, and you apart from this, that's the difference with the large scale companies that are super have so much time on the industry. You have another difference between the startups and the large established companies in terms of procurement.
Yeah, the procurement strategies differ greatly between a large company and a small startup like us. We already touched on our low volumes tend to be a challenge, whereas larger established companies with more mature product, they're ordering greater volumes. So that's one difference. Another difference is the larger established companies, sometimes their reputation precedes them. So when they're reaching out to potential suppliers, those suppliers are already familiar with them and their product. So not really the case with a small startup like us.
Yeah, that's totally true. And now jumping right into Sabanto, how a procurement play a role while the team is building the product at Sabanto?
Yeah, it's kind of a slippery slope for procurement, only because when you're developing a product that's not mature yet, it's subject to a lot of change, a lot of engineering changes, revisions. So you really need to pay attention to where the product is evolving to, and that plays a key part in your purchasing decisions when you're purchasing components for your product.
Yeah, and I know that you've been in this position in Sabanto for some time ago, but what do you think are the most challenging procurement decisions during this time that you are working there?
I think the most challenging decision was just supplier selection. Who is going to play well with us for the entirety of the startup? And who can deliver that quality product for us and for our customers, because when you're entering a market as a small startup, your customer perception is everything. You know, how they perceive your product. Is it a quality product? And that all starts with your supplier selection.
Yeah, and what do you think are the things that you have to have in mind to choose a supplier, a good supplier?
First, it starts off with how willing are they to work with you and your company, given the small volumes, the volatility of revisions to your product, things like that. So their willingness to work with you, and then secondly, you know, price, cost. Are they competitive with cost? What's their lead time? There's multiple factors that go into choosing a great supplier for your startup.
Yeah, and what do you think will be a good advice for the startups that are just starting to build their procurement strategy? What will be the advice to build that strategy?
Yeah, I think take your time with shopping for suppliers. Get to know them on more than just a business relationship. Get to know the people you're working with, and really build that supplier relationship. Because if they are key to your company's success, you want to be more than just a rough around the edges business relationship with them. You want to really hone that relationship with them.
Yeah, I think that's super important, and as you said, you have to know the people that you are working with, because at the when the time is difficult, when something you have a problem or something like that, you need to trust that the supplier is going to be there to help you.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing I would recommend is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Definitely have your quality primary suppliers that you're relying on, but also keep in mind to have an alternate in case something changes in the relationship. For example, a lot of these contract manufacturers they only have a certain amount of capacity, and if you're taking up some of their capacity as a small customer of theirs and a larger customer comes along, they may push you to the wayside. So definitely have some good alternatives as far as your key suppliers go.
Yeah, like having a backup for just in case something happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and now that we talk about suppliers, you mentioned also about the budget, that kind of stuff. Do you have any tool or strategy that you use to control the cost without slowing the team down? Maybe a software, a platform, I don't know, to control it?
Yeah, so Sabanto recently went into doing all of our business through a ERP solution. So I would highly recommend, as soon as you possibly can as a small startup, get into an ERP platform. Because what that's going to allow you to do is have complete visibility of your supply chain and be able to extract data and look at it in certain ways. How are my suppliers performing as far as lead time? What's my cost trends? What are my minimum on-hand quantities, replenishment quantities? You can do a lot of valuable things within an ERP platform.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good advice for people that are just starting now to build their, as we talk, the procurement strategies to manage properly the procurement and the supply chain and everything, so you can focus on develop the product and to not have problems with that. You just focus on the final product at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to finish with this interview, what do you think are the most common procurement pitfalls that people and the startups needs to avoid?
Definitely manage your on-hand quantities appropriately. If you know your product is prone to revisions and changes, that definitely drives a lower on-hand quantities. But also, I think that number one pitfall is not shopping well enough for your suppliers. Again, find that quality supplier, that contract manufacturer that is willing to play nicely with you, and who also you can build more of a personal relationship with them. One supplier that is willing to understand your startup and the ecosystem you live in is also very important.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I want to thank you for being here, Jake, and share your ideas about procurement, about the supply chain, and how this industry is moving right now, and also how this works at Sabanto. So thank you again for this. And you have any social media or website you would like to share?
Yeah, you can find out more about us, sabantoag.com, and also on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay, perfect. And for everybody that is watching, be sure to visit our website, buildernation.io. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn by following Builder Nation for the latest updates and exclusive content. Thank you all for being part of this amazing community. We will see you in the next episode. And thanks again to Jake for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.